Welcome back with Your Eye on Health. It's Wednesday, which means Dr. Sudip Bose is in a Medical Center Hospital giving us great health and food tips today. We're talking about the question of good fats versus good fats, or good fats versus bad fats. What is this? A lot of people aren't really sure. I'm not sure of what is. You see trans fat, saturated fat. What is good fat?
It's confusing, isn't it?
It's very confusing. Those nutrition labels, no one can decipher them, really. I think most people can.
Not all fats are created equal. And
there you go.
You know, when they say about 30% of your diet should be fats, you should make those good fats.
Right.
So the good fats in general are the unsaturated fats.
Okay.
And the saturated fats are saturated with bad things, which chemically speaking is hydrogen ions.
Okay.
We'll get back to that.
Right.
But so when you're having, let's say, something to eat, this would have saturated fats.
But it's so good.
It's so good. And I think the main point I want people to take is saturated is bad, unsaturated is good. And the reason that is because think of saturated fat. We see it all the time. When we see a piece of steak, that white stuff on the steak, you know, that's solid fat on the bacon.
Right.
It's solid at room temperature, whereas unsaturated fat is liquid at room temperature, okay? Certain oils are good for you. Avocados are good fat. You know, this surprises you. Nuts are 60% fat. Although the nut is solid, the fat in here are in the form of oils. But these are good fats, so that's okay. So I think the best way to remember this is you look at these fish, sardines, tuna, they're swimming in the sea like this, right? They're swimming. And imagine if the fish were made of saturated fats that became solid at room temperature. In the cold water, what would happen to that fish? It just becomes solid. So fish is good fat. It's liquid at room temperature. And then what happens in those coronary arteries? They stay liquid. Versus the bad fats, they're solid at room temperature and they clog up those arteries. They're solid in your arteries.
They're so good, but so bad, right? Well, I think a good rule of thumb here is to think when you see saturated, unsaturated, maybe saturated is saturated in fat. You don't want that. Unsaturated is a little better for you. Stay away from trans, stay away from saturated, and unsaturated is the one that you want to go for. All right, Dr. Sudip Bose, always great advice. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.